You know, Robert, I love that. I love that commercial. The term or the idea American exceptionalism, I think is so important for us to hold on to in these conversations. And that's what we should be aspiring to. You know, that's what MAGA is about to me. That's what a lot of these conversations are about is the freedom and the opportunity to really just excel to the highest possible heights. So
And that's really, first of all, I want to get one of those shirts that has the eagle descending on it. That is just cool to me. I want one of those. So before we go on, I know we usually do this at the end of the show, but where can they find us?
ooh, you guys, you got to
Yeah.
find us on all the social medias. So, Of the People with Robert Chernin is on every social media platform: Instagram, YouTube, Rumble, wherever you're watching or listening. The best place is really on Rumble or Twitter, because that's where you're going to find our after hours show where we really get to riff and talk about whatever we want. And, you know, there might be some cussing and some other things that we can't say on the radio.
Me talk like a truck driver. But don't forget, folks, we are also, for those of you who want the audio version, we are on iTunes, we're on Google, we're on iHeartRadio, we're on Podbeam, we're on
Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts.
And don't forget, follow us, rate us 5 stars, or email me, Robert, at coalition, the number 4 America.com, or Ericka
at Ericka at coalition, the number 4 America.com. They're up on your screen if you're watching.
Yeah. And don't forget, it's one word, coalition4america.com. So under the heading of American exceptionalism, you know, we're going to start a new segment, and we're going to call this Get Trump. Right?
Is this like Got Milk?
No, this is like Get Shorty. You know, the old movie Get Shorty?
Okay. Yeah.
So now this is Get Trump. So every week, and it's going to be up to you to remind me, we're going to do a Get Trump section, because what's the latest this week for getting Trump, right? And I don't know if you saw this in the news, but, you know, going back to one of your favorite topics, January 6th, there were a couple things that happened during the testimony, and let's remember, the January 6th committee had 7 Democrats and 2 quote unquote Republicans, right? Adam Kinzinger.
So fair and balanced.
Fair and balanced. Well, no, we're not Fox News here. We're not Fox News, right? But 2 of the more inflammatory statements was that, because Trump said, I wanted to call out 10,000 National Guard, and the committee said there was no evidence of that. It now turns out, thank you, Molly Hemingway of the Federalist, I want to put a plug in for her, who does great journalistic work regardless of which side of the aisle it comes out. But she found out, because there's a transcript now of, I think his name is Ornato, who was the deputy chief of staff at the White House, testified to the January 6th committee that indeed President Trump did try to get 10,000 National Guard called out to protect and make sure that there was no violence on January 6th.
Wow.
Calls Bowser, Muriel Bowser, the DC mayor, right? They reach out for her, and she says no. There were 364 guards, right? So instead, they put the DOD and a quick hit force on notice. But there's now testimony that was removed that said that yes, indeed, and apparently, so he overheard Chief of Staff Mark Meadows talking to the president about it, and this is consistent with Kash Patel's testimony, which was deemed to be unreliable. So really, the rules apply supposedly to everyone, rules of law and rules of disclosure and rules of honesty and integrity information, except, of course, if you're under the do anything to get Donald Trump, right? So it's amazing to me that all of this is going on. And then the disinformation in the media, and to segue, there was this interview that everybody saw, I assume, if you were watching, those of you who watch the news. So Congresswoman Nancy Mace, right? North Carolina, I think she's North Carolina, was interviewed on ABC News today with George Stephanopoulos, and he basically corners her, no pun intended, and said, well, how can you support this man who was convicted of rape, meaning President Trump? Right?
That because she was an SA survivor, how could she support someone accused of SA?
Well, SA is sexual assault, folks. She's a rape survivor. Okay. That's what we're talking about. And she basically.
I'm trying to use YouTube speak, Robert, so we don't get our video shadow banned.
Well, you can bleep me out then. Okay. There are plenty of people listening who'd like to bleep me out entirely anyway. It's okay. I'm not offended. It's a good thing I don't have a delicate male ego. But here's the point. First of all, Donald Trump was not convicted of rape.
That's right.
He was convicted in a civil trial of sexual assault and then I think defamation of character, right? But these are civil cases. He was not convicted criminally of the act. He was not even convicted of rape even in the civil trial. And yet here you have, and look, Stephanopoulos worked in the Clinton White House. He's as much in the bag of the Democrats
how about
anybody.
Stephanopoulos? Yeah, hey, Stephanopoulos, how can you live with yourself knowing that you worked for a man who was credibly accused of rape and sexual assault, and we now know went to Epstein Island like 30 times? These people are so full of crap. Like, oh, well, look at me. I have this moral authority and I'm better than you. And it's like, bruh, no, you're not.
But that's the moral authority under the democracy is under siege, right? Heading.
Yeah.
That's the moral authority that they're worried about losing. It's not really moral authority. It's just authority. They've ascended to a certain point in society and are certainly raking in the dough.
That's right.
They don't want their money threatened and they don't want their power threatened, right? And then, still sort of under the Trump, get Trump. Did you see the State of the Union? Did you watch it?
I have okay. Yes.
Yes or no? Excuse me.
Yes.
This was a yes or no question.
I can't even. Yes, I saw it. Yes, I saw it. So bad.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Was the president on drugs or what? I mean, here's my thought process, right? You have this addled old man before the State of the Union. My argument is the reason he was late is they had to wait to let the drugs take effect, right? That's why he was late coming down the aisle. And I have no proof, folks. I'm just giving you my opinion.
Speculation.
But, and people, we've talked about your history and your past, and drug use in your past before you were saved, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So you can speak to this from experience, probably more than me.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Did it not look like that to you? And B, did you see what happened the day after the State of the Union?
This is what people, so whenever you're doing uppers, okay, they don't last that long. There's a reason why it gets expensive and it's a problem and it's a whole thing. Okay. Right. It takes a little bit after you take, and it doesn't matter if it's Adderall, if it's speed, if it's whatever. There's a ramp up period and then you're good for a little while. But if you don't do more, you crash. And you could literally watch the president be, having a good old time. And then you could see him crash in the middle of it. I don't know why they made this speech so long. They should have made it like 30 minutes and he would have been fine probably.
When he really crashed was the next day. He's in Pennsylvania in Delaware County giving a speech and he says X, Y, and Z and he goes, and that's why I'm running for re-election to Congress.
Bro, you don't even know what position you're running for, okay?
I mean, you sit there and listen to some of this stuff and look, I laugh because it's so obvious as to be it's funny in a very serious kind of way. So the guy doesn't even know what office he's running for. Oh, but
Wild.
it was, and look, let's look at the State of the Union. So all the signs are there, right? There was some slurring.
Yeah.
There was some coughing.
God, so much slurring.
Because the coffee, the coughing, you get dried out by the drugs. There was loudness, right? And there was this sort of that he was doing. I mean,
yelling,
folks, those are telltale signs. And then you look at the come down, which is the next day. And he goes, that's why I'm running for Congress. Mr. President, or the sitting president, you are not, I know you were in Congress and I know you were in the Senate, but you are not running. I mean, actually, maybe that would solve our problem. Maybe he should run for Congress again and let someone else run.
He would fit in with all the other 80-year-olds like, Mitch McConnell and Nancy Pelosi. And yeah, no, I really believe that there should be a cutoff point. Like, you should not be allowed to hold office after like 70, or you should have to take a cognitive test. There are plenty of 80-year-olds that I know that are still with it. They're still active. Their brain is still functioning. But I can tell you right now, they are not members of Congress.
Right. No, I get it.
And they're not president.
Right, I get it. So getting back to the let's take this in the social direction, right? And under Get Trump, it's permeating everywhere. Charles Barkley basically came out. Now, Charles Barkley, the former Philadelphia 76er, one of the all-time basketball greats, and he now has a show, I don't know, King Charles, whatever it is, right? Yeah. Basically came out and said two things. He said, number one, someone who's black, Charles Barkley is black, African American, whatever the politically correct word is I'm supposed to say, came out and said, any black person who is wearing a Trump shirt or Trump mug, I want to punch in the face.
Wow.
Right. And then he dials it back and says, well, I don't really physically mean that I'm going to hurt him, but how could you vote for this guy? But then he flips and says, right. Then he flips and says, but I understand why people are moving away from Biden, because the Democrats only come around once every 4 years. And, they come into the inner cities once every 4 years, once it's time to vote. And then you don't see them for another 3.5 or 4 years.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and that's what I just think it's so funny to me when, again, the same people who are the ones threatening our democracy, right? So we've got these Democrats out there saying democracy. The Republicans, all these crazy right wingers, they're a threat to democracy.
No. It's white Christian nationalists, which is, it's those people who believe that their rights come from God. If you believe your rights come from God, according to the other side,
and here's the deal.
Are a domestic terrorist.
Do you see right-wingers walk? And I could be wrong, but do you see any famous right-wing politicians or, musicians or athletes going out there and being like, if you vote for Joe Biden, I'm going to punch you. I want to punch you in the face. And maybe they are, and I just don't hear it. That's entirely possible. But I'm not hearing our side run out there and be physically threatening to Democrats.
Look, these are the people who are defunding the police, and I think they're being hoisted on their own petard, because now you have all these blue cities who are now saying, oh, we think we really need police. Oh, you mean like those community organizers and those, conciliators that you're sending into the community, into places of domestic dispute or other places, really can't resolve crime and really can't resolve conflict resolution? You mean you can't just sometimes talk through conflict resolution? I'm shocked. Really?
Yeah. And that's, I don't get
Morons
it. I don't
idiots.
get black. I ask
Morons
Benjamin all the time, explain black people. I don't get it. You guys aren't getting what you say you want. These Democrat politicians are not making your cities better. They're not getting you out of poverty. They're not giving you better schools. They're not doing. Why are you still voting for that? For 50, 60 years, these people have been telling you that they're for you and they want to, and the Republicans are so bad. But are you better? Are you better off?
So Charles Barkley says the following. The reason, he goes, they only care about black people every 4 years. The reason I think the Democratic Party and Mr. Biden is losing black votes is they only care about black people every 4 years.
That's right.
So they only care about black people every leap year. Is that it?
That is literally it. Yeah, I mean, really.
Look, people need to understand there are 4 pillars of the Democratic Party. And when any of the base gets threatened, that's where they go. So the woman's vote is a pillar of the Democratic Party. The union vote, the black vote, and teachers, and teachers you can say are union, that's true, but it's specifically teachers. But so maybe there are 3 pillars really, because you can put teachers under unions. But the women vote, the abortion issue, right? The abortion issue, because and Biden just came out in his speech where he thought he was running for Congress, basically talked about three things and three things only. He talked about abortion, going to pass, abortion and a federal law on abortion. He talked about the economy and the fact that how terrific his economy is doing. I just filled up my gas tank this morning. I don't think the economy's doing that well.
Fabulous.
And then he talked about what's the other buzzword? Gun control.
Ugh.
That's it. So you've got three pillars and three issues, right? I will tell you something. Here are the three issues that this election is going to turn on, assuming it is a free and fair election, of which, where's my tinfoil hat? It's going to turn on illegal immigration. It's going to turn on the economy, and it's going to turn on crime. Those, mark my words, those three issues are the three issues upon which this election will turn. Immigration or illegal immigration. Right. The economy. It's the economy, stupid. Thank you. I think it was James Carville who said that during the Clinton years. And it's going to turn on crime, safety, crime. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, this is what the Democrats always, I do not understand what their electoral game plan is.
Sure you do.
Because it doesn't matter. Well, this is the thing. It doesn't matter if you win the popular vote. You have to win the electoral college, and the majority of Americans, right? So the electoral, every state essentially gets a vote on who is the president. Not each person, but each state collectively who is going to be president. And immigration is affecting everyone, right, left, and center. And so the Democrats keep trying to pretend like the things that matter are whether or not you can kill your unborn baby, whether or not you are allowed to defend yourself against somebody trying to hurt you. And their position is you shouldn't get to defend yourself. At the same time, we're seeing rising crime, illegal immigration, 7.2 million illegal immigrants that we know about, which is more people than 36 separate states in this nation. These people are morons. They're absolute morons. They are running all the way to the left
they're
to
not
appease their most radical base.
But they're not morons. This is by intent. This is about power. First of all,
do they want to lose? But do they want to? They can't want to lose the election. I mean, they cannot believe that these are actually winning issues. Can they? I mean, they can't.
I guess if you control the levers of power, you're more apt to say the issues don't matter, because what was Stalin's quote? Who votes doesn't matter, but who counts the votes. And again, that's that whole conspiracy theorist thing. But interesting that you bring this up, right? Because you're talking about, and let's put a fact out there that most people don't know.
Yeah.
We conduct a census every 10 years, which means we count people in the country. However, the census counts, and that's how, by the way, the electoral college is allocated, and how many representatives and congressmen and women that people get in a given state.
That's right.
But the census counts both legal and illegal immigrants as part of the state. So let's just make this up and say
doesn't differentiate. That's what's important. It does not differentiate if you're illegal or legal, because remember last time they decided you're not allowed to ask that question.
That was during the Trump years. That's right.
Yep.
So folks, the census, even though technically, legally, only citizens are allowed to vote, the way that representation is apportioned counts everyone, illegal or otherwise. So if I'm playing the long game, which the Democrats clearly are doing, then I want all this illegal immigration because I know it's going to get counted in the census, right? And therefore, it's going to give more electoral power to states that have larger illegal immigration or have, let's call a spade here. We're talking about cities, right? You're talking about where illegal immigrants are going to congregate, and they're going to congregate in the cities, and without the blue cities, the Democrats, based on counties, based on geography, the Democrats get their rear ends handed to them.
That's
in terms of those stats. It is only the urban centers that cause the Democrats to have even a remote chance to win, assuming people are counting the votes correctly, right? So, folks, the census counts everyone, and that determines how many congressmen in a state, and that determines power in Congress. You starting to see the cycle here?
Yep. That's what here. Who did? Forgive me. Remind me.
I won't forgive you. I won't forgive you.
Who
I don't know what you did,
decides-
but you're not forgiven.
Who decides what the census questions are? Like, who facilitates the census? Is it the administrative branch of the government?
I think it's the Bureau of Statistics, but don't quote me on that. So this is where, by the way, we are Benjamin-less today, folks. This is where Lord Benjamin always helps, because when we're having these questions, he's like typing stuff on the background, and we get all this chat, and he makes us sound so much smarter. I mean, by the way, if we don't sound smart, if Ericka and I do not sound smart on this show, it's because we are Benjamin-less today.
Yep, it's Ben's fault.
Right? I just want you to know, if we don't sound smart, that's why. But let's go back to that illegal immigration versus the census. I don't know who comes up with the census. I assume it would be either the Bureau of Statistics or U.S. Census Bureau or whatever.
Yeah, U.S. Census Bureau, U.S. Commerce.
There was a bill.
U.S. Department of Commerce.
That could be. I mean,
it's like overseeing.
So I may be omnipotent. I'm just not omniscient. That's all. So. Did I tell you I am Oz? No, I'm not. So there was a bill the Senate put forward, the Republicans put forward a bill that would make it illegal to count illegal immigrants as part of the census. And they came for a vote. Not a single Democrat. Here's where you can tell whether there's the politics of it. Not a single Democrat voted in the Senate in support of a bill that would not count illegal immigrants as part of the census data. What does that tell you?
Dude, this is they call us conspiracy theories when we talk about the Great Replacement theory and whatever, but you guys are literally so you're not so the Great Replacement theory is a tinfoil hat, whatever, but y'all are literally counting illegal immigrants so that you can get more representation. So you set up sanctuary cities,
I think it's smart
sanctuary states. Yeah, I mean, this is again, you guys call us stupid and you say we're conspiracy theories and you're doing this nonsense in public. We can see you.
Yeah, but wait a minute. When you do things like this in public and no one responds, you're just going to keep doing it. I mean, no one.
Yes.
So here's the problem, right? I mean, again, it comes back to one of my favorite scenes from a movie, which is Network, right? Albert Finney sticks his head out the window and says, I'm mad as hell. I'm not going to take it anymore. Until the American public gets to that point, and I'm sure hoping they get to that point by November, so that the margin of victory is so far outside, any ability to, sort of cheat, rob, or steal, right?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. I'm skeptical, but I mean, until you get to that point, when people go into stores, and they are looting stores in front of the people who work there, in front of the ownership, and they have no regard because there are no consequences, and that's the key. Right. If you commit a crime and there are no consequences, you're just going to continue to commit crime, right? There has to be consequences, and it's the same thing with partisan politics. When you are so partisan that you don't put the needs of America first, but you put the needs of your party first, or your need to stay in power first. And if there are no consequences, you're just going to continue to do it. Which, by the way, not only did they have that bill put forward, but the other thing that people don't understand is, folks, I want you to look up Executive Order 14019. That was signed in 2021 by, at the time, fairly innocuous, signed by President Biden. And basically what it allows is the Department of Justice, who's supposed to be going after people who break the law, and it allows them to become sort of a civil rights voting enforcement agency. And they're now trying to get illegal immigrants to vote and people in prison who, in most states, and let's remember, voting rights is state, not federal, people in prison to register to vote. Now, again, there's a little more to it than that, and I am really glossing over some of the things in the Executive Order 14019. The Secretary of State, or it was the Attorney General of Mississippi, has wrote a letter of protest. I think it'll go nowhere. But these are all the little things, Ericka, that this administration is doing under the heading of, where did we start today? Democracy under siege, racism, anti-voting rights, under the heading of expanding voting rights, because that's a nice, because by the way, these are really nice banal platitudes. Who would not be against expanding voting rights?
It sounds nice. It sounds nice until you realize that they're trying to federalize it and take rights away from the states and make sure that we won't ever have a free and fair election again because illegal immigrants are going to be voting.
Right. So, again, it's one of those things where they put these banal, just lovely sounding things. Oh, of course we're for voting rights. A million years ago, do my homage to Joe Cilio, commissioner who was on here. I used to work selling way before I got into this, right? I used to work selling pots and pans and dishes door to door. How's that for a piece of my past?
I love it.
Yeah. Well, door to door salesman. Thank you. Knock, knock. And we used to go in and we were selling china and crystal and flatware and those things. And we would always sit with a mother and a daughter, and we would say to the mother, well, of course, don't you want your daughter to start out better than you did? I mean, what mother in clear conscience could say, no, I don't want my daughter to start out better than I did. I mean, that just doesn't happen. It's the same thing when I hear these platitudes coming out of the government about the voter, what do they call it? Voter reform or expanding voter access. Of course don't you want everyone to be able to vote? Of course we do, but they have to be legal to vote. Yeah. And what they're trying to do, whether it's voter ID, being against voter ID, which clearly doesn't hamper voting, whether it's mailing ballots, whether it's, these people who ballot harvest. I mean, they're trying to use every loophole to make sure that, including people who are dead on the voting rolls, to vote.
Well, and that's, it just like socialism, it all sounds good until you put it into practice. And then you find out it's all a big lie.